Hello, my name is Nicholl, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I title this message, Fed Up with Partner and Church. And some people who have come across NM Enterprise 7 YouTube, they are feeling just that way. They are fed up with their partner and the church. And the two are interconnected because guess what else they are starting to show signs of? They are beginning to lose faith in God. That's dangerous ground to tread. But some of these folks who are believers, who have prayed, who have fasted, who have read scripture, who know something about Jesus, are fed up with partner and church. I tried to make things work with a partner. I really did. But he did this and he did that. You can fill in the blank. I tried to work with the church, but they wanted this and they wanted that. Used and abused with the partner, used and abused with the church. Some folks are experiencing one or the other or both. We talked much over the years about emotional and physical abuse. And when God speaks into your spirit and he shows you signs and you refuse to go ahead and exit when the opportune time is there, yes, you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer immensely because God is not going to mess around with man's free will. We want him to make man or woman act right, do what's right, go to the church with us or do this thing or that thing. Yes, but it doesn't happen. I remember in a previous marriage, it didn't happen in the way that I thought it should have happened. I wanted God to do some things in that man's life. I wanted him to do a whole lot and God didn't. Why? Why didn't he? I had pages and pages of prayers. I took all my prayers and I threw them in the trash. It was a binder full of prayers concerning the relationship, the family, the partner, our needs, our wants, everything. And when I threw that binder of notes in the trash, in the big dumpster, when I did, little did I know I was slowly but surely throwing my faith away too. And then I didn't want to go to the church. No, thank you. I had experienced some issues in the past dealing with a couple churches. So that was the last place that I wanted to go to. Religious abuse, spiritual abuse, it's real. Just like emotional and physical abuse, yes, there is religious abuse. Wikipedia defines it like this: abuse administered under the guise of religion, including harassment or humiliation, right? Pastor preaching all sorts of stuff, negative stuff that is, from the pulpit, berating the congregation. The definition goes on, which may result in psychological trauma. Religious abuse may also include misuse of religion for selfish, secular, or ideological ends, such as the abuse of a clerical position. It's sad when you can see in the eyes of someone who's a leader lust, and when they behave in ways that make your eyebrows raise. And then when you see that they're not stepping up to the plate like they're supposed to. And not only that, using opportunities to hurt you because they're dropping the ball. So I got a double whammy back in those days. So I was fed up with the partner who didn't want to be faithful to the marriage, and I was fed up with the church that didn't want to be faithful to God, but instead want to use and abuse people. You talk about a walking time bomb. You talk about somebody in darkness. Yep, that was me. So what did I do? What did I do during that period of darkness? Well, I already told you what I didn't do. I wasn't committed to any marriage any longer, and I wasn't committed to the church, and I wasn't thinking too much about God, because as far as I was concerned, God could have turned some situations around. And I felt like he could have done this for my husband at the time, and he could have, guided me to a different church. Well, upon closer inspection, let's go back in time a bit, where I missed the signs. How about that? Instead of me blaming God, there were warning signs. There always is. You knew from the door, some of you all who's fed up with partners, you knew from the door that man or that woman wasn't right for you. You knew it. You saw the warning signs. You talked people out of what they saw in that partner that you wanted to be with. Oh, no, he's not like that. Oh, no, you're wrong. She's really this way and that way. You'll see, Mom. You'll see, Dad. Oh, yeah, right. You put on a good front, but you knew deep down inside, yeah, this person, they got some issues. But what? You're going to save them, right? You're going to dismiss what you know to be true about that person. You're going to pray them to Jesus, even though they said, I ain't really into Jesus like that. So you went on and you got married, unequally yoked. Some folks is still contemplating getting married to some people that even God said, that's not who I have in store for you. Leave them alone. Let them go. But it hurts too bad, right? We don't want to go through the pain. That's another reason why we don't get rid of folks when we should. I don't want to go through that upset. I don't want to go through the disconnection and the, stomach and the heartache and the headache. No, I just rather pray about it, Lord. Or some folks are just lazy. Just lazy. They don't want to get the necessary paperwork done. They don't want to, do what it takes to, go to the court and everything. So, some people got it even worse than I do, right? So they talk themselves into staying again and again, wishing and hoping that somebody's going to change, and they don't. Things only get worse. You break up, you get back together. You break up, you get back together. So you get fed up. I'm tired. And God hears. God hears. And God tries to work with us, right? But do we accept his service, his assistance? Do we really? The writing is on the wall for some of you all who haven't gotten to that place yet, but it's real tempting, isn't it? To throw your hands up and say to bleep with this one and that person. And I don't give a what about, okay, getting real close to throwing a towel in. Let this message resonate with you, because I'm not going to encourage and I'm not going to discourage. But what I am going to say is that if you spend more time focused on God and less on those things and those people that you're fed up with, I promise you, you're going to get the desires of your heart. And the desires of your heart is what? Joy. The desires of your heart is peace, right? Most of the time when people say they're fed up with someone or something, it's because they don't have any peace in their spirit. Sometimes it's the fault of those individuals that they're associated with, and other times it's just them and how they choose to view some things. Some people do mean well in our lives, others don't. And when the writing is on the wall that some people are not meant to be, rather than just go ahead and do what is necessary to get that person out of your circle, you keep them around because there's certain benefits out of it. Some folks, they stick around with certain churches because, well, this is all I know right now, or this is what they tell me they're going to hook me up with or help me out. So, and in the past, well, they did this, that, and the other, but there's abuse taking place. Come on. There's abuse. And if you are truly fed up with something, guess what? I'll tell you from personal experience. When I got to that place of being fed up, I established boundaries. There was no crossing my doorstep. Okay? There was no going back and playing makeup. Okay? There was no, I'm going to go and get one more hit from the church for good measure, right? Another spiritual uplift, one more little praise dance for good measure. You know, he called me back to the church. I'm going to go back because he called me. Then he used everybody in the church to call me. I'm going to answer the phone. No. When you fed up, you don't answer phones. You don't go in the atmosphere where the abuse took place. You don't befriend folks that were responsible for encouraging the stuff that caused you to be fed up in the first place. Be fed up. Oh yeah, be fed up with the partner. Be fed up with the church. But don't be fed up with God though. I will tell you, when you do these sorts of things, like I'm sick of God and I don't want to be bothered with God and I don't give a you know what about the church and the church people. When you start doing all of that yada negative talk, you're putting stuff out there in the atmosphere and the devil going to get you for old and new. You can believe that. Oh, those times when you was praising the Lord and you were feeling good and joyful and doing all this nice stuff, he going to come back around and he going to make you feel depressed. He going to make sure that he get his circle of people that's going to pretend like they're of light and they're only nothing more than darkness. You're going to find yourself running when you should be sitting. You're going to find yourself stressed out, tired out, ready to call it quits when it's all said and done if you choose to be fed up with God. God allowed a lot of these things to happen because, see, sometimes we forget what we prayed about, you know, especially when we were emotional and angry. Lord, will you please just get this man out of my life, this woman? I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of her. She does this and she does that. Oh, okay. And he sets it up. Now she packing her bags, or now he's walking out the door, or you got to push him out the door, or you got to get the police to come. Okay. But hey, God answered your prayer, so what you mad at him for? Well, I thought, that was toxic. So he delivered you from it. Only for what? Some people to bring that person back around again, and now they are fed up. Well, if you're truly fed up, like I said, you're going to establish boundaries. If you're truly sick and tired of being sick and tired, you are not going to continue to entertain people who are doing nothing more than bringing you down. Church. Not every church is a bad church. Not every church is doing what that one that abused you did. I had to come up out of that mindset because that was keeping me messed up too. Because there are times where spiritually you just need to be around some like-minded folks. But I wasn't ready to do all of that. It took years for me to get back in my mindset of, okay, the church is a decent place. Not all churches are like the one that used me and abused me. And then here's the other thing. A person can't just use and abuse you. You got to do some things that give them an end. I know some people don't want to be held accountable, and that's okay. You can click off the message. But for those who want to be held accountable, keep on listening, because you know that I can't make you do anything. You've got to have something that says within you that I'm okay, I'm all right. And then by doing that, you open up the door for an abusive person to come on in and control your atmosphere. First, it starts off subtle, right? They have a smile on their face. They're doing some sweet things for you or the group. They're looking out for you. Next thing you know, they're telling you about how you need to give back in so many words. So then next thing you know, you're there and you're giving and you're being considerate and kind and sweet and putting your money where your mouth is and all that. And then they start talking about some of the things that you told them in confidence, right? They start nitpicking. They start using what they know against you. And then you start thinking, wow, wait a minute, they got a point, right? So you're opening up that door. They come on in and now you don't feel so fulfilled. You don't feel so good. You starting to think thoughts that you never thought before. You're starting to sound a little bit strange in the way you communicate things dealing with the Bible and so forth. And then people on the outside looking in start noticing that you're a bit different in your behavior. And you don't seem to be a kind person like you once were. The partner brought you down. The church brought you down. And so you've got to be the one to go to God and have him lift you up again. Sometimes God allows things to happen because he sees that we are acting prideful, right? Oh, you finally got that nice looking man or that nice looking woman. Now you strutting around thinking that you're better than everybody else. Sometimes you get affiliated with a certain church or what have you, and they puff you up, and then you go around and you start acting like the self-righteous Christian. So sometimes God allows these things to happen to humble us, to get us to a place where we say, okay, you're right, Lord. I'm not all that. You know, I had to learn the hard way. I thought I knew something when I really didn't. And people who see the truth, people who see that you still have a light in you, they're going to come and encourage you to do something different. Not everybody is an enemy. They're going to say, you know what? This life that you're living right now, I know you fed up with your partner, you fed up with the church and everything, but you're going to have to spend some more time with God quietly. You don't have to be around your partner. Don't even invite him to the church or her to the church. Don't even go to the church any longer. You just spend some time with God and allow him to move upon your spirit, to do what is right and to give you the desires of your heart. Maybe it's not the church setting where he wants you now. That's old. So now here comes something new. He wants you out there in the mission field, or he wants you at a particular workplace and you just happen to be working on Sundays, but they're benefiting from your service there. God is not restricted to just the church. And for some time, you just might be that one that is not in the church. I know that happened to me. I'm still walking with Christ. Once I got my act together and stopped blaming and stopped focusing on man and stopped focusing on church stuff. And then I got centered and I realized that the Lord just wanted some time with me. That's it. And I'm telling you, that was just so uplifting. And even to this day, it is still uplifting to know that God just wants some time with me. He's not worried about service. He's not worried about, whether or not I'm doing this, that, and the other for this one. And no, that's us worried about all those things, concerned about all those things. He just wants a little time. Let me impart some knowledge in you. Let me uplift your soul. Let me give you the strength, because I know what's ahead and you're going to need the strength to be able to get through some things emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Just give me your time. And time might be just sitting in a chair looking out a window somewhere. Time might be sitting at the park. Not just one day or 2 days, maybe every day, putting some time aside. There might be those moments where he wants you not to be in your Bible highlighting and underlining like you typically do. Maybe he wants you just to listen to his word. Or to watch a movie, or to read a newspaper, or to check out a magazine that's Christian based. But whatever it is, he just wants you to just kind of separate from being fed up, like the enemy got you bound to being fed up, and just be prayed up with him, trusting in him, giving him your burdens. I know for some people it's a challenge to think in that mindset because you still blaming God for what went wrong. But like I said, you sit down, you take that piece of paper and pen out and look at everything that took place leading up to getting hooked up with that man or woman. And you'll see where you went wrong. And you'll stop blaming God. And you'll also see where you got way too involved with a particular church. Or you saw way too many things that was wrong, and rather than leave, you allowed that atmosphere to corrupt you. And the enemy likes that because he wants to recruit believers to go out here and start putting all sorts of mixed up doctrine and as well as their emotions into their conversation so that folks will not go to the church, so that folks won't be saved. So if you got issue with God, it would make sense that you have that issue behind closed doors. But don't be updating people and telling them I'm fed up with this and fed up with that. because the enemy is going to use those situations to tell those folks, see, I told you she's not a sincere Christian. I told you that this one over here is not a real believer. Look at him. Look at her. And your testimony goes downhill because people don't really see you in the same way that they saw you when you first came to know Christ. Once you start going downhill spiritually, physically, and mentally, they say, oh well, you don't have anything to give. You're useless. You're no better than them. And for some people, they enjoy that because, well, they tend to think that believers, oh, you think you're so holy. You think you're better than everyone else. Of course, the enemy is going to use them to say that to you. Of course. Because why? Because he knows he ain't right or she's not right. Yes, I am. I am doing a lot for Jesus. Yes, I am about God's business. Yes, I am better than I used to be. And I'm glad that you feel that I'm that way. Because you know what? Maybe you can look at my life and do something different. And we get fed up. Yes, we do. We get fed up with the negativity that comes out of these people's mouths. We get tired of people telling us what we should and shouldn't do, especially when you're dealing with self-righteous believers. You know, we have our moments, but we take all those issues to the Lord and we say, Lord, I don't want to be over in this atmosphere. Can you make a way for me no longer to be there? Lord, I don't want to be tied to this individual any longer. Can you make a way to send him or her on their way? I just want to be basking in your glory. I just want to study and show thyself approved with you. I just want to love on you. You see how I'm turning all of what the enemy would have taken and used for blame? No, I'm turning it around and I'm saying, Jesus, I love you. Jesus, I want you in my life. No, I'm not blaming you for anything. I take full responsibility for my mistakes. I'm sorry. You see? So fed up with a partner, fed up with the church, it happens, but you don't have to be fed up with God, right? He is there and he wants you to draw near to him. Sometimes all of the upset and the frustration, the challenges come along so that we are reminded that we are human beings that need Jesus. Well, I thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. Please do check the description box for anything of interest. Also, you've been listening to YouTube NMEnterprise7. Subscribe today. And if you haven't given, please do. To God be the glory.